Welcome back to POV. My name is Michelle Schaffer. I am so excited to be here with you. Thank you for those of you who have left comments, even those of you who have left nasty comments. I appreciate you because you actually help the algorithm. So keep them coming. The show is called POV after all. So even if your point of view is different than mine, I still want to hear it. So I'm happy to have them. Thank you very much. Thank you for those of you who are watching on YouTube and those of you who are commenting on all the different social media platforms. I love it. And if you are enjoying this, then please share it with somebody else because that helps to get the message out. What's the message today? Well, today I'm going to talk to you about a couple of things. How many of you remember that 5 years ago, our lives changed dramatically? Literally, it was 5 years ago, Paige. Isn't that crazy to think that 5 years ago, do you remember exactly where you were when you found out that we were all going to have to stay home for, 14 days to stop the spread? Where were you?
I was at work.
You were at work. Where were you working?
I was working valet at a casino.
Here in town?
Mm-hmm.
And so they just said, you have to go home?
Mm-hmm.
And how did you feel? Were you like...
I was super excited, actually.
So Paige was super excited. And I was like, this is a joke. And it's definitely not going to last longer than 2 weeks. Did you think it was going to last longer than 2 weeks? And I was like all on board. I was like, you guys just stay home 2 weeks and then we can go back to our normal lives. I remember very specifically saying to my son, Jacob, who one of these days I'm going to get him here to record some of his tips for movies and TV because he's the best. But I remember talking to Jacob and I said something about, well, when everything goes back to normal, and he goes, Mom, nothing's ever going to go back to normal. And I thought, what a dork. Of course it's going to go back to normal. And how crazy that the world just seemed to get weirder and weirder and weirder over the last 5 years. Did you feel like that?
Yeah, it's gotten bad.
It feels like there was the world before March of 2020 and then the world after March of 2020. And it just seemed to, I was journaling every day. And when I look back in my journals, I do this thing, and I haven't been doing it for a long time, but I've been doing it for years. It's a gratitude journal for my husband. So I write specifically in this journal things about him that I'm thankful for. By the way, marriage tip. This is a marriage tip for anybody. What a profound gift to give somebody. Just do it for 30 days. Write something every day that you're thankful for your spouse and give them that as a gift. What a way for them to see all the things that you see in them. Anyway, I've been doing it for years and I haven't given it to him because I want to fill the book and it's a thick book. And when I look back starting in 2020, I was writing whatever day of lockdown was. We've been locked down for 80 days. We lockdown day number, 100 and whatever. And when I read those journals back, wow. I was either in denial or confused or something, definitely thinking any moment it was going to spring back to normal. And what I feel that in my experience, life seemed to literally devolve. Common sense seemed to stop being common. Things that, I've been a student of nutrition, health, and wellness for a number of years. And so as a result, when you do that, you obviously study virology and viruses and how to naturally take care of these things. And so all of the things that I had learned, I had been studying at that point for 15 years. And all of the things that I had learned about how to take care of your health, how to fight viruses and illnesses and stuff like that, it was like gone. You couldn't even Google it anymore. I would Google herd immunity and there was a completely new definition. Natural immunity, everything was being changed. I was like feeling like I was living in like an alternate universe where it was like, what do they call it in Stranger Things? The upside down. Did you see that? Mm-hmm. I felt like we were literally living in the upside down. It's like it kind of looked like the regular world, but no sense. Nothing was making sense. And it seemed like everybody was on board. Bobby and I were two members of our family on both sides where almost every other member of the family took the you know what, and we didn't. And we got a lot of flack for that, for not doing it. But we both actually had COVID. And I was like, we got it. So now we have way better immunity than the people that get the thingy. So that was 5 years ago.
Yeah, that was a long time ago for me.
Doesn't it, do you, I mean, and another weird thing that happened for me was ever since 5 years ago, it was like, I have no concept of time because I felt like we literally lost a year and a half. We lost a year and a half of normal. The only reason I even have any like timestamps is because that was the year Tegan was born. My grandbaby was born in 2020. And that's like my only frame of reference for time from 2020 till now. But it's been 5 years. And, we began to see some outliers after a little bit in the first year. And then starting in 21 and 22, you started to see some outliers, some people coming out and saying, this is not right. This is madness. We shouldn't be forced to do these things. We shouldn't have to take if we don't want to. We shouldn't be fired from our jobs. Why should I walk around wearing a mask if I am not sick? And supposedly you got the, what, that is supposed to protect you, but I still have to wear a mask. So I'm healthy. I'm not feeling sick, but I have to wear a mask so that I protect you. And you're the one that got supposedly the immunity deal, but you have to be protected from me that doesn't have it and doesn't have symptoms, but I could still be spreading it even if I don't have, it sounds so crazy. And those people that decided they wanted to like stand up and say, this is not normal behavior, were the ones that were made. We were made to feel like we were the bad guy. We didn't care about other people. We were selfish. What are some of the other things that we said, that was said? You didn't say it. I know you didn't. But what were some of the things that people were saying about people like us that were like, no, I'm going to we kept going to the gym. Bobby refused to wear a mask. I had to travel, so I was forced in the airports and stuff to do it. But whenever I was out and about, I wouldn't wear it because I wasn't sick. Because if I was sick, I would have been at home in bed. I wouldn't have been out and about just coughing and spewing sickness on people. It kind of seems like the norm. Crazy. What were some of the things that you heard people say about people that were like speaking out during kind of the height?
I was in high school, so to me,
it was your senior year.
Yeah, it was just more of like being immature, I think, is what people said a lot. Because we all were like at the beginning, especially, we didn't really care, so we were just like, oh, we get school off.
Yeah, we get to come home.
Yeah, it was just like immature.
It was very immature, and it did exactly what the enemy wanted it to do. It created division amongst people. And I knew people that got really sick. I have a friend of mine, her father got very ill and he was sent to the hospital. He was an older man and they put him on remdesivir. I think that's how you say it. And he died the next day within 24 hours of it. I have two friends whose parents died after they were given that. And now so much information is coming out about the amount of money that hospitals and doctors received for administering that, for putting people on the ventilators. And these are crimes against humanity. They are crimes against humanity. I have vaccine injured in-laws who now have permanent injuries because of what they were forced to do in 2020. I know people that lost jobs. I know people whose family don't talk to them anymore. Like, it's crazy. All craziness for something that now, it's the same as getting the flu, right? It's the same as getting the flu. Crazy. That was 5 years ago today. I can't believe it. Okay, I'm going to move on because I think if you're anything like me, I'm just sick of talking about it and thinking about it, and we all wanted to move forward. But I do think it's important to kind of like mark March of, I actually, was it like March 12th, I think it was, of 2020. There was a specific day that we were all like, wait a minute, what? We're not supposed to go anywhere. And I remember this. So our youngest, Savannah, was home with us too. And we would go for walks because I was actually training for a half marathon that year. And so we would go for walks and runs, and we were just walking and running like outside. It's beautiful. The sun's out. Sun actually is, it will kill bacteria, right? Like the sun is very healthy for you. And I very specifically remember an older couple was walking the opposite direction, and they had masks on, and me and my daughter did not. But we were outside, number one. Number two, we were healthy. And number three, like, if you were sick, would you be out doing that? You wouldn't. Okay. And we're out in the air, right? So they were walking toward us. They looked at each other and looked at us. They shook their heads so that we would see it. And they walked off the sidewalk into the street and made sure that they went out into the street, shook their heads as they passed us, and then got back on the sidewalk on the other side. And I just remember thinking, that's crazy. That is craziness. And I feel bad for people that were so fearful, because actually fear can lower your immune system. So it was like they were made to be afraid, which made their immune system low, which made them more susceptible to getting sick and all the crazy things. Can we not do that again? Here's my request. Can we not do that again? Can we not fall prey to that? Can we hold on to some common sense? And actually, I don't know if we've talked about this yet before, Paige, but if I have, stop me. When my older kids were kids, we used to have chickenpox parties. Did I talk about this? Okay. So if you are of a certain age, then you remember this. But when the kids were little and you heard about one of their kids getting chickenpox, you were like, oh, can I come over? Because you wanted your children to get chickenpox when they were young because they didn't have it as severe, and then they would have immunity. Like, this is what we did. There was no shot for chickenpox. You just wanted them to get it because then they would have immunity for it. We weren't afraid of viruses. We were like, oh yeah, you're going to get a cold, you're going to get a flu, and then you'll build up immunity around it. Right? Now, of course, like, I know there's always circumstances. Some people have suppressed immune systems, yada, yada, yada. But the fact of the matter is we have been so lied to and indoctrinated about how to be healthy, like what it takes to be healthy. I don't believe in slathering your skin up with sunscreen. The sun is beneficial to you in many, many ways. I don't believe we're supposed to be indoors as much as we are. I read something the other day that said the average adult spends 93% of their time indoors. Yikes. That's not healthy. People don't exercise. They eat terrible. They drink tons of alcohol or any other thing. Sugar, like it's something like 12 pounds of sugar the average adult eats in a year. It's 12 or 22. I'm sure someone will write in the comments the correct amount. So we're taught all these falsehoods about how to take care of ourselves, and then we wonder why we get sick. Like, eat healthy, eat clean, stop buying processed food, drink water, get out in the sun, go exercise, go barefoot. I dare you to go barefoot. Go barefoot in the grass. Go to the beach. We live in California, so go to the beach and get your feet wet. Walk in the sand. Do some of these things that would be so amazingly good for your heart. Like, maybe not the pumping of your heart, but your heart, you as a human being, to get out into the world, live life, eat good food. You'd be shocked how something so simple can change your life so dramatically. And hopefully people have learned, right? Okay, I want to talk about a movie that Bobby and I watched last weekend. Have you watched the movie Homestead, you and Luke?
No, not yet.
Okay, it's through Angel Studios that did that other really popular movie about trafficking. And so I was really excited about it. I was kind of disappointed. I hate to say it. I was kind of disappointed. So the premise behind the movie is there was a feature film that you could watch. It was 2 hours, and then it would be supported by a series. This is a brilliant idea. Like, we as people have become accustomed to binging on television shows. Like, we like to watch not just an episode. We'll watch like 3 episodes in a night. And then the next night you'll watch 3 episodes. So we get immersed in the shows that we watch. So the idea of this is brilliant, I think. A feature film that you hype up, get all excited about, give people a really amazing storyline, and maybe even end on a cliffhanger, but because they want more of it. So I was like, this is brilliant. And for those of you that know me, many of you don't, I am absolutely a wannabe homesteader. Like, in my heart, I am barefoot in my garden right now with chickens and goats and Highland cows. Like, that is where I want to be. And so I was very excited about this movie because I saw tons of trailers about it, been watching it. So we finally we were jacked. We were like talking about it all night. I make pizza on Friday nights. We had our pizza. We were ready to go. And it started off great. And then it kind of just, it didn't deliver. I'm really bummed because the idea behind it was really brilliant, but it just didn't deliver. So I'm a little disappointed. But for those of you that are out there, if you are in the film production, I think this is the beginning of the future of filmmaking, to start with a feature film so that you gather a big audience, but leave them wanting so much more and have a great series to follow it. So kind of bummed because I was really having high hopes that I could turn my husband to be a wannabe homesteader because of the film, and you guys didn't pull through for me. So I'm kind of bummed because he's still like, absolutely not. Who's going to take care of all these animals? He doesn't get it. He's not in on it, and he's done with it. I didn't really do anything specific to talk about politics this week. It seems to be same old same. The liberal media hates Trump, and they're coming up with all kinds of crazy ways to say that the things that he's doing are bad, or they are lying about it, or whatever. And people don't do any research. They trust that the news is telling them the truth, which they are not 99% of the time. They are giving you spin. They are sharing a biased opinion and very much taking sound bites and adding their context, their opinion to it without giving you fact. But one of the things that I do want to talk about a little bit on the politics side, and tell me, you don't like really watch politics, Paige, so you may not have noticed this, but if you watch anything with politics, you've definitely heard this phrase. When people are talking about the citizens in America, they kind of talk about them in two categories. It's like the elites. It's like the elites are the wealthy people, the people in government, and like the movie stars or sports stars, right? That's who, like when we talk about the elites, that's typically who they're talking about. The people that when COVID happened, they didn't care because they still had their private chefs and they had their homes with their bowling alleys in their home. They had their homes with their horses on their property. Like nothing really changed for them, right? They could fly private so they could still go places. The elites. And then everybody else, do you know what they call them? The working class. Well, the working class America. And in reference to the working class of America, it's like, we the dumb hicks. We're uneducated, we're all racist, and we're just the working saps of the country. I think that I have such a problem, and you hear it on all media channels. This is not particular to one side. This is not limited to either just the conservatives or this is not exclusive to one party or one television show, one news station. They all refer to the bulk of us in the United States as the working class, like we're in classes. And I find this particularly rude. We're just people. We're not the working class. Who are the non-working class? That's what I want to know. Who are the non-working class? I think we should just talk about the American people, like by saying the American people, not the working class. It's putting us, in my opinion, in a lesser than category. And by the way, there's far more of us than there are of them. We are the majority, the quote unquote working class. So the elites are the ones that are in by far the minority, but they make most of the decisions. They seem to be the ones that actually set the narrative. So if you're out there and you're listening to this and you are a part of media, like, I'm just asking, like, and I'm not asking for a friend. I'm asking for me. Can we change that? Can we stop putting people in classes and just say the American people? Can we just say that instead of saying the elites? And by the way, the elites are not better than anybody else. They just make more money and they've put themselves in a position of power, and they have the ability to set narratives through the media that makes everybody think everybody thinks that way. And it's not true. In my experience, it is not true. So that's my tiny political rant for the day. Can we just stop that? Aren't we all working class, even the elites, unless you literally are independently wealthy and don't have to work? I mean, you could say Elon Musk is in the working class. He's working, although for free, but he's still working. Okay. Paige, which we didn't talk about when she was on here, but Paige is a collegiate athlete. You love sports.
I do love sports. Yeah.
Do you watch sports still now?
Yes.
What's your favorite sport to watch?
Probably NFL football.
Really? Number one. Do you watch any women's sports?
I did watch women's college basketball when Caitlin Clark was playing, but not really this year as much.
I was thinking about this. Like I started walking on my walking pad. I have a walking pad. I took it out of my office. I put it in the room where we watch TV, and I'm trying to do like an hour a day on the walking pad. And so I turn on the TV, and I enjoy sports, but I enjoy the sports stories better than I enjoy the sport. And so I've been watching Full Swing. You've seen this on Netflix? It follows professional golfers and that are on the PGA Tour. And I was watching the other day. I like it. It's a good show. I'm still in season 1, but it's a really good show. And I was watching it the other day, and I forget his name. Sorry, golfers. I don't know you well enough yet because you're only on for like one episode and then you're off. And I don't watch golf, but it was this guy who his physical size he's a professional golfer. Professional golfer, but his physical size is small. Like when he stands next to the other men, he looks like he's younger because he's smaller. He's from Europe. He's from England, and he's amazing. He's great. Well, I was watching the other day, and he ended up winning one of the Masters, and of course I was tearing up, and I was thinking to myself, this thing that we enjoy about watching sports is because we're watching their highs and lows like in real time. You have a favorite team or a favorite player in a favorite sport, and they have an amazing performance. Then you're cheering. You're enjoying their win with them, right? One of the reasons we like to watch sports, like you wear the gear and you cheer them on, and somehow you feel when you have like I know when my husband talks about his football team, which is I was going to say San Diego Chargers, the Los Angeles Chargers. He still says my team. He talks about like he's an owner of the team, like he has ownership in who their new players or who they get rid of or whatever their record is, right? People watch sports and feel some sense of like being part of the team. When your team wins, you feel good. When your team loses, you feel bad, right? And when they have a bad performance or when they miss a shot or when they lose a game, you feel it, right? You feel that emotion. Why? Why do we care? Well, it's because they're living their lives and their story, at least for what they do for a living, their profession, on blast. Like it's out there for us to watch. So when they don't succeed, we feel that because we have moments when we haven't succeeded, right? We're doing it privately in the comfort of our home or only the people around you know, but they're doing it on blast. So I'm watching this and he had this win. And of course I teared up and I started to think like, wow, when I have a great day in my business, like there's no cheering on the side. You know what I mean? Nobody's waving a flag. There's nobody else enjoying the moment with me except maybe our staff and like Bobby, like our team. We enjoy the wins. But we go through the same thing. We have days as entrepreneurs that you feel like trash. And you just feel like, man, I feel like I'm on the bottom. I feel like I'm on the bottom. I feel like I just lost the tournament. I feel like I'm like worse than I've ever been. And then you have moments where you're like on top, handing them the trophy. Like this is the journey of entrepreneurship. And it has been wild. I will tell you, starting this company and taking the pivots and the things that we've done, the left turns, the right turns, going backward, forward, up, down, sideways. It's been really, really wild. And so watching sports kind of keeps, I don't know, it keeps you going for your next win, maybe. I don't know. It's inspiring to see somebody overcome something. And it gives you the hope that you can keep going and overcome as well. But I do think they're all overpaid. I think they're all way, way overpaid. And that's a subject for another day. But I do enjoy the stories. So good job on Full Swing. And for those of you that are entrepreneurs out there, keep going. Even though nobody's cheering you on and hopefully nobody's booing you, keep going. Your moment will come if you just keep going. Okay, so I wanted to talk about a little tiny bit of my story and kind of what has happened since I just started POV. So for those of you that don't, you wouldn't, but unless you've been following my social media, but for those of you that don't know, a little tiny bit about my story is I became a mom at 16. I had my first child when I was 16 years old. I was a junior in high school. And I married my high school sweetheart, had my son when I was 19. By the time I was 21, I was divorced with 2 kids and very, very lost, no direction, didn't know what I was going to do. I thought before I got pregnant, when I was in high school, I was absolutely on the college path and I wanted to go to college for a couple of things. Journalism. I thought maybe I'd be a journalist or a lawyer. I wanted to be one of the two, but I was for sure going to college because that was the path that I was on. I was very excited about it. So when I became a mom, of course, those things like went to the wayside. And I don't say that with regret. When I gave birth to my daughter, it was the most remarkable thing I'd ever experienced. I felt love that I had never known before, and nothing mattered but her. So I don't have any regret. Like, oh, my life was terrible. My life was certainly harder for having that path, but it wasn't terrible. Raising my kids has been the best part of my life, and I would do it all over again. It makes me sad whenever I think about it. As a matter of fact, I cried a little bit on the last podcast with Bobby, talking about the fact that they're all grown and having a life of their own. It just goes by really, really quickly. Okay, back to the story. So I was a single mom. I started college because I thought I'm going to go to school and be a teacher. I knew I was going to go to college anyway, and being a teacher, I could line up my schedule with my kids' schedule. It'll be perfect. And after one semester of college, I was like doing the math on it. How long is it going to take me? I'm going to have to work. I was working full time. I'm going to have to work full time and go to school. It's going to cost me this much money. At the end of it's going to take me a minimum of 5 years to do this. And it wasn't easy. Minimum of 5 years to do it. And at the end of it, the average salary at that time for a teacher was in the 30,000s. And I was like, I'm going to work 5 years and lose all this time with my kids working and going to school. And I'm barely going to be at the poverty level. No, that's not my path. And so that set me on the trajectory of every other thing that I did. And I became a stylist and a makeup artist, built a very, very successful business. Met Bobby on a blind date as I was a stylist and a makeup artist. And I got into the network marketing profession, fell in love with that because I more than replaced my income and I did it all from home. And I've been on the entrepreneur path now for well over 20 years, closer to 20, probably 20, let's see, 25, closer to like 30 something years I've been an entrepreneur. And I love entrepreneurship for a lot of things. I think that many people have creativity inside of them, and that is planted there by God for you to go out and create something that adds a benefit to the world. That's your gift to the world. Like who you are, your gifts, your identity, what you offer, that's your gift to the world. And so entrepreneurs, they have a special place in my heart. Entrepreneurs are bold. They're risk takers. They make things happen. And so I love entrepreneurship. I have trained entrepreneurship. I like to talk about entrepreneurship because I think it is a big part kind of the American dream. Like you have a dream in your heart. People still today. Now, I know, Paige, your generation, and many people say the American dream is dead. It's not. People still come to this country because they know it is the land where they can come here with a dream and make that dream a reality. And I love that about the United States. Now, is it harder? Probably. But I mean, say that to somebody who came here and had to go through Ellis Island and like had to stake their land. And then, I mean, it's always hard depending on what generation you're in. It's never easy, but I don't think anything of worth or value is easy. We've got to really get out of this mindset of trying to make everything so easy and avoiding all the hard. The hard stuff is where that's the good stuff. The hard part. When you overcome something, when you get through a hurdle, or you walk through an obstacle and you come out on the other side, that's the good stuff. That's where God can do his best work. That's where he can show up. And I like to say, attempt something so big that you're doomed to fail unless God shows up. That's the kind of faith that I have, and that's the kind of faith that I want to teach you to have, because I believe that that is the spirit that is inside of most of us, and the enemy wants to crush that. He wants you to think. He wants your hopes low. You've heard the saying, don't get your hopes up. I say, get your hopes up. Get them way up. What good did low hopes do anybody? Nothing. That is exactly where the enemy wants you. Having no dreams, no ambition, no hope, no faith, no courage. And so we want to do the opposite of that. So get your hopes way up. Attempt something wild and crazy if that's what God put on your heart. Surround yourself with people that can help you to get there. And watch what happens. Just take one step today. What if you did one thing today? Just one. Maybe the one thing is saying it out loud to somebody. Maybe the one thing is making a phone call, or whatever it is. Do one thing today that gets you just a little bit closer to the thing that God placed on your heart. And lastly, I'm going to close by saying I have taken quite a beating on social media for some of the clips that have been put out about my opinions. And I say, keep them coming. I got a lot more things that I'm going to share with you, and I'm going to piss off a whole other side of the spectrum here when I get into those conversations, because I am a passionate follower of Jesus, but there is nothing religious in me. I walk in freedom. I am not afraid of words. I'm not afraid of people that most quote unquote Christians call their enemy. I'm not. I have a gay son. I have transgendered people in my family, and God loves them. And the church wants to put people on the outside, and Jesus wants to invite people in. So that's the team I'm on. So those of you that are out there and you were following me because you were like, oh, good, she thinks this way. She likes Trump. She voted for Trump. Put your big girl panties on, because you might not like what I have to say in the next coming up episodes. Thank you for being here with us today. If you enjoyed it, share it, and we'll see you next time.